everyone, welcome to my Lessons from Life series, and today I'm gonna touch a little bit of independence and why it's important, how it looks, and how can you actually develop it. So independence is a really broad topic because it just looks different for everyone, depending on which stage of your life are you in or how much freedom did you experience before. You are kind of expanding on that independence. So how I like to look at this is if you were standing at the bottom of foggy stairs and you only can see a couple of steps at a time, but you know that the pathway is really long, but you can't exactly see how long it is. So it really takes self-trust and taking one step at a time so you can actually see what's up, what's out there. Independence is really tied to confidence and trust in yourself, which is why I brought this analogy up. And independence, as I said, is really different for everyone because it can mean financial independence, emotional, or just the way you're learning to navigate the world, but it always should come from a place of self-trust because that's really what it is. So when I was younger, I always sought help from other people, but it wasn't coming from a place where I feel like I need help, so I'm gonna ask for it. It was from a place where I didn't feel like I can do it alone. I didn't feel like I can get into a new situation I feel uncomfortable in, and I can actually navigate that. I felt like I always needed someone to lead me and to help me kind of find myself in that situation. But when you start building your independence and trusting yourself more, you realize that you can be in a situation you never ever experienced before and you will be fine. That looks weird. Wait. So basically I had to learn how to navigate different situations myself alone because I didn't have anyone to lead me as I get older. And the thing is, sometimes people just get stuck in that. They feel paralyzed and they don't know how to trust themselves enough to actually do it alone. So the way I think about it is that independence is really highly tied to confidence. So the way you build confidence is you literally have to have something to be confident about. It can be your skills, the way you show up in the world, and the way you're confident in your own abilities. For example, when you are supposed to give a presentation on something and you know the topic really well, you are not as stressed and you can trust yourself that you will manage even if you don't know what to say. You have enough experience and knowledge to actually be able to get through it and share your knowledge with other people. But if you don't know enough on the topic, if you prepare last minute, if it's something you just learned about, you will be insecure, which is quite the opposite of trusting yourself. And the more you kind of have your whole portfolio of skills, the more your independence increases because you have all those skills, you are confident in yourself, so now you can do things on your own, which is quite literally what independence is. So if you feel like you would like to be more independent or you don't know how to start, I feel like the best way to go about it is to make a little list of skills you would like to learn. And it doesn't have to be anything tied to your work or anything like that. It can literally be how to do the dishes, clean your house, how to style yourself. And that's why I made the analogy to the stairs, because the higher you go, you are kind of on a higher level, but you don't really feel this because every step is kind of the same. You're just higher. But when you look back, you have all those steps you already made and you did. So it would be unrealistic to expect yourself to go from the very bottom to the very top really quickly. But if you go step by step and the difficulty increases, you don't really feel it because if you take one step at a time, you just see that this step is a little bit harder than the last one, but you have all of this experience and knowledge from the steps you already took. So going up is way easier, even if the skills or things you have to do are getting harder. So this is tied to my last episode, but I feel like traveling, it doesn't have to be alone, but in general, traveling and navigating new places is really essential to your independence. And it just really makes you grow as a person because you are facing so many different barriers. One of them is a language barrier, but also if you go from one country to another, small things are different. There are so many differences. The public transport looks differently, the people act differently, there are even some small cultural differences, small or big, that depends on where you go. But if you are kind of thrown into a deep water and you really have to do something about it, because you can't just be stuck at one place for your whole trip. You need to get to your hotel, you need to go from one place to the other. You probably made plans to explore and get to different attractions. You also have to get food, so you have to talk to people. So if you do that a couple of times and your independence increases, that way when you come back, you already have all of this experience in a situation that is totally foreign. So when you have to navigate some smaller, easier things, they seem even easier. Even though before you left, for example, those seemed like big steps, which is why sometimes we say that travel kind of gives us a reset. So we go somewhere to recharge, reset, and then we come back. And it changes us for the better, obviously. So obviously you will experience some discomfort on the way, but that's what life is about. You have to step out of your comfort zone to actually get somewhere and grow as a person. And I feel like that's really amazing. It doesn't matter that it's uncomfortable at the moment, because when you get there, you see the payoff. You are way more confident and independent. You can manage more situations. And also why I think it's so important to be independent these days is because people are really busy. They are busier than before. We also have all those distractions, and we have to manage our time way more effectively, and we have to really focus on that. And when you are not really independent, you are taking up a lot of other people's time. And I'm not saying it's not okay to ever ask for help or anything, but when you are independent, you can actually help other people instead of constantly asking for help and needing their support. You can also show up for other people way better, and you can share the experience you already have and help them gain more independence. So in that way, you are really taking the pressure off of your parents or friends or anyone who is trying to help you. Also, when your skill set increases, you are way more confident in your own abilities, so you can really find your way, find out who you are, you can focus on your self-development instead of just trying to get through the day. Also, a lot of people think that if you are getting more independent, that means you don't need people as much, or that you may lose the connections you have. But that's actually not true. If you are more independent, you are not relying on other people, and you can actually hang out with them by choice. It's coming from choice and you wanting to be with them instead of being really anxiously attached to them. So independence is also a really big topic in relationships, because people sometimes when they get into a relationship, they stop being independent at all. They are relying on the other person, even if before that they were single for a long time and they were managing everything just fine. They are kind of holding on to the person really hard, and instead of two people who have their own separate lives creating a relationship, it starts to be one person depending on the other, which is not really healthy. And just because you want to kind of have your independence, that doesn't mean you are being a bad partner. Quite the opposite, actually, because when you are getting into a relationship, you are supposed to be a whole person, and which is why I really hate the narrative of someone else being your other half. No, you are two people who are creating something together. But if you don't know how to do your own taxes because your partner has been doing it for you for 20 years, then we actually have a problem. Which is also why communication is so important, because it's okay to ask your partner for help, and that's how it's supposed to work. You can support each other, but doing something for the other person and making them not be able to kind of manage life on their own is not okay, and it's actually harming them in the long term. So there are some major milestones when it comes to independence. That's something everybody goes through, like getting your first job. That was a really big thing for me, even though I wasn't really happy in it. It was a great experience because when you go through like first job interview, it's like a first thing that's really stressful, but when you go like further in another field or anything like that, if you go through it for the second time, you already have the previous experience. And when you're getting your first job, it's usually not that deep. You're usually pretty young, so it doesn't really impact your career in the long term, but you are gaining that experience, which is really helpful for you in the future. Also, moving into your own place. I live alone right now, which is a really cool thing because I can be responsible for everything and really have that independence. But also it's really challenging to manage your own schedule and kind of take care of yourself in every way possible. So that's actually all of the life skills kind of packaged together, and you have to learn all of that kind of simultaneously, but it's really cool and helpful. You need that. Also, last thing I want to touch on is the way independence increases your personal freedom. So you can make choices that are way more aligned with your values, and you are not as scared to take action. You can just do something because you feel like it. You can try it out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you can actually trust yourself that you will follow through on things that are important to you and that are working. Sometimes we are scared to start something just because we are not confident in ourselves. So that's all I prepared for today. The lighting kind of disappeared, but that's okay. And hopefully see you in the next episode. Bye!